What if, right now, a parallel version of Earth began to merge with ours? Not in science fiction shimmer, but physically overlapping in the same space. Imagine you look up and two skies slowly blur into one. Two histories pressing at the seams like paper being glued together. That's the hook. Two universes occupying the same place would force physics to decide which rules matter. And those rules are stranger than you think. To understand this, picture two ways physicists imagine parallel universes. One from quantum mechanics, where every outcome spawns a new branch, and another from cosmology, where whole bubble universes or brains float in extra dimensions. In the quantum many-worlds picture, the branches don't interact. They're separate records of outcomes. So a true merger is already against that idea's spirit. In cosmological or brain scenarios, however, whole universes might collide in a higher dimensional space. And that collision could, at least in theory, transfer energy and change local conditions. So let's set the scene simply. A bubble or brain carrying a parallel Earth overlaps with ours, close enough that fields, particles, or space-time geometries begin to interfere. At first, you'd notice tiny, weird mismatches, instruments disagreeing by micromounts, clocks desynchronizing, GPS errors popping up like static on a radio. That's because fundamental constants or vacuum states could differ even slightly between the two patches, and tiny differences amplify quickly in complex systems. Next, objects that used to be stable might flicker or phase mix. A drop of water from one Earth could momentarily coexist with a slightly different composed drop from the other, producing strange interference at molecular scales. Human perception would lag behind the physics, but sensors and electronic systems would scream first. Interference patterns, catastrophic software errors, and unexplained data that contradicts every calibration manual. On the scale of cities, infrastructure reliant on precise timing, power grids, satellites, financial networks could cascade into failures as signals from two realities collide or cancel. If the overlapping universes have different vacuum energies or particle masses, atoms in one region might find themselves in slightly different binding conditions, causing materials to weaken or chemistry to misfire. Life itself would face bizarre stresses. DNA replication and cellular chemistry tuned to one set of constants could misfold or produce errors when exposed to a blended set of rules. Many areas would survive because local physics is robust, but hotspots of instability, places where the two realities differ most, would suffer rapid breakdowns. On geological timescales, the energy released by reconciling two spacetime configurations could be enormous, producing heating, earthquakes, or even tiny local bursts of extreme radiation where fields reconfigure. Cosmologists warn that whole universe collisions can leave permanent scars. Distorted background radiation patterns or large-scale anisotropies, so the sky itself could carry a telltale fingerprint of the event. If the merger is total and permanent, which is one extreme possibility, the two histories would be forced into a single consistent story, but not without erasing some records and creating new, unpredictable events. Another possibility is that decoherence-like processes would prevent coherent blending, and what we experience instead is a blurred, probabilistic overlay that never fully mixes, but keeps producing local anomalies. There's a darker outcome. If one vacuum state is more stable and wins, it could convert patches of our universe to a different set of physical laws, a process that propagates like a wave and is catastrophic. Thankfully, mainstream physics suggests such full conversions are rare and would likely require extreme conditions. But in a thought experiment where two Earths merge, we must entertain even those extremes. So the short story: first confusion, then technological and biological stress, and possibly long-term rearrangement of landscapes and sky signs that future scientists would puzzle over. The emotional side is strange too. Memories, records, and histories could disagree or vanish, if the merger resolves in favor of one branch, making personal identity feel fragile. But here's the twist. The most likely real outcome, given our best theories, is not an apocalyptic override, but subtle fingerprints, patterns in ancient light, tiny deviations in constants, and anomalies that make physicists both thrilled and anxious. That means if a gentle brush with a parallel universe ever happened, it might leave us a puzzle to decode rather than an instant extinction event. Either way, the idea forces us to confront what real means when histories branch and when entire cosmic tapestries might touch and tug at one another. If you loved this wild thought experiment, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments which version of a merged Earth you'd want to explore next.